This video is to review solving quadratic equations by using the quadratic formula. In this lesson, you will learn to use the quadratic formula to solve any quadratic equation. So the solutions, which are also called the x-intercepts or zeros of a quadratic equation, remember has the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. That's when we solve for our solutions. The quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Something to know and remember, though, is that x may be referred to as a solution and x-intercept a root or 0. All of these words are synonyms for each other. They all mean the same thing. So let's practice using the quadratic formula to solve for our solutions. In number 1, we have the equation x squared plus 4x minus 5 equals 0. So first we need to identify our a value, our b value, and our c value. So remember, the a value is always in front of our x squared, so in this case it's a 1. The b values are always in front of the x, which is 4. And then the c is the constant that's not by a variable. So our c value is negative 5. So our quadratic formula is negative plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we're going to substitute our a, b, and c values into this equation. So when we substitute, we get negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 5 all over 2 times 1. So I'm going to simplify underneath my radical first, so I'm going to multiply and square. So negative 4 plus or minus the square root, 4 squared is 16. And then negative 4 times 1 times negative 5 is plus 20 all over 2 times 1. I'm going to simplify a little more by adding underneath the radical and multiplying out the 2 times 1. So we get negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 36 all over 2. Now, because of the plus or minus in the middle, this is going to get us 2 solutions. So our solutions one solution is negative 4 plus the square root of 36 over 2. The other solution is negative 4 minus the square root of 36 over 2. Now, we can put this into our calculator. When I put this in my calculator, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to enter the numerator of my fraction. So I'm just going to do negative 4 plus second square root 36, close my parentheses, enter. So I have 2. Then I still need to divide by the denominator. So we divide by 2. So my solution is 1. I'm going to do the same thing for my other solution. Negative 4 minus the square root of 36. Press enter. I just want to do the numerator by itself. And then divide by the denominator equals negative 5. So my solutions are 1 and negative. X equals 1 and x equals negative 5. In example 2, before we do the quadratic formula, we have to get this in standard form. So standard form means that everything is on the same side together and that the coefficient from the x squared is constant. So I'm going to move over this 3 by subtracting to both sides. So I now have 4x squared minus 6x minus 3 equals 0. So I'm going to identify my a, b, and c. So my a is the leading coefficient in front of x squared, which is 4. B is my leading coefficient in front of the x, which is negative 6. And c is my constant, negative 3. So to do the quadratic formula, we have negative b. So we're going to do negative 6 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 6 squared, minus 4ac, so 4 times 4 times negative 3, all over 2a, so 2 times 4. Then I'm going to simplify it. So out front I have 2 negatives, so this becomes a positive 6, plus under the square root, plus or minus negative 6 squared is 36, and then negative 4 times negative 3 is plus 48, all over 8. So I'm going to simplify one more. 6 plus or minus the square root of 84 over 4. Now I'm going to split up into my two solutions. So I have 6 plus the square root of 84 over 8, and 6 minus the square root of 84 over 8. Remember when you enter that in a calculator, you want to do your numerator by itself first, so 6 plus the square root of 84. Divide that by the denominator, which is 8. And this time we get a decimal, we're going to round to the nearest hundredths. So because of this 5, it rounds up our 9. So this rounds to 1.90. I do the same thing again with my second fraction. 6 minus the square root of 84. Divide that by 8. When I round, get negative 0.40. So in this case, my solutions are x equals 1.90 or x equals negative 0.40. The last problem is what happens when we have no solution. So first we still have to do this in standard form. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 2 to both sides. 5x squared minus 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. I need to identify my a, b, and c. So a is the coefficient in front of x squared, which is 5. B is the coefficient in front of the x, which is negative 3. C is the constant, which is 2. So I'm going to write out my quadratic formula. Negative 3 plus or minus the square root of negative b, or b squared, so that's negative 3 squared, minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. Now, when I simplify this time, I get 3 plus or minus the square root of 9 minus 40 all over 10. When I simplify to the radical, I get a negative 31. You cannot take the square root of a negative number. So whenever this happens, this is a no solution problem. So because of this negative 31, you can't take the negative square root, so we have a no